Hi there everyone, here Pyral, here's the vlog. So today I'm going to be doing another Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile. The reason why is because a few days ago I finished building a new deck, or rather I finished building a deck that I have attempted to build multiple times in the past. But once, I believe it was Master Rule 4 came out, that's when the Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains stuff and like the whole link summoning mechanics changed the way extra deck monsters worked. I kind of stopped doing that, but now that Master Rule 5 is in effect, I figured it was now like the perfect time to finish this deck, because for the longest time it's been nearly finished. And yeah, this deck focuses on my favorite mechanic introduced in Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually, so I'm glad I'm able to finish it. So the deck I have here is a Stardust Dragon deck, or rather a Stardust Dragon slash Yusei Fudo theme deck. And the reason why is because Stardust Dragon, actually, it happens to be my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card. It's been my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card ever since I saw it, which was, I believe, before 5Ds came out, because it was like showed in like promotional material. But Stardust Dragon, it's a pretty decent card, and back in the 5Ds era, this card was actually pretty relevant. It was a staple in a lot of decks. And I mean, the whole synchro summoning mechanic is my favorite mechanic in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! So this deck uses that basically to like its full potential. So let's show off this deck. And do note that this deck isn't meant to be like super competitive, because I'm not really one that enters tournaments. Not that I really can at these like current times, but I just play with friends, so it's a deck made for fun with some competitive aspects to it, just because my friends and I are like that. So starting off with the monster lineup in the main deck, I have Road Synchron here. One, because I can use it to bring out Road Warrior, but two is because its other effect, where if I use it to synchro summon something that is not Road Warrior, its level is reduced by 2. That can come in handy in some situations. Also, I'm not going to be using its other effect, where its level increases by 1 if it battles. Not really going to be using that part of its effect. Then Junk Servant here, it special summons itself when I have another junk monster on the field, and I have quite a few of those, like Junk Synchron here. I run 3 of them, and it's just a really handy tuner. Just, it special summons a level 2 or lower monster, and that monster's effects is negated, but that can easily be used to synchro summon the level 5 monster, which I run quite a few of. And plus, like, it works well with Junk Servant here, just because it's a junk monster. Then Junk Forward is a nice monster if I have an opening hand, or if I have it in my opening hand, because I can just special summon it if I have no monsters on the field, or just in other situations where I don't have other monsters. That would be nice to have. Then Steam Synchron is just another nice level 3 tuner, and it also has the upside of letting me synchro summon during the opponent's main phase, which I do have a card that would benefit from that. Then I have 2 Doppelwarriors, a really nice level 2 monster. I can special summon it from my hand when a monster is special summoned from my graveyard onto my field. And also, when it's sent to the graveyard as a synchro monster, I just get 2 level 1 tokens, which is nice, and I run 2 of these. Then Quillbolt Hedgehog is a nice little extra thing. It if it's in the graveyard, I can special summon it to the field if I have a tuner out, so more synchro fodder, but it gets banished if it's special summoned that way. But again, I'm only running 1, so not like it matters. Then Satellite Synchron, just like Doppelwarrior, I run 2 of these, and it does have the effect of special summoning itself from the hand if something comes back from the graveyard, which, again, that's a handy thing. But also, it can manipulate its level. It could be used as a level 4 monster if I'm using it for a synchro summon, but that's only if I have a Warrior Synchron or Stardust Synchro monster on the field. So, I mean, just nice little thing, I guess. Fleur Synchron is a nice tuner here, where if I use it for a synchro material, I can special summon a level 2 or lower monster from my hand, which I run quite a few of. Junk Converter is really nice. I can discard this and a tuner to add a Synchron monster for my deck. It doesn't need to be a Synchron monster that is a tuner. It could be, like, I have a few Synchron monsters that aren't tuners that would actually be a nice search for this. And also, if it's sent to the graveyard as a Synchro material, then I can just special summon a tuner monster from the graveyard. So, that's nice. Then, over here is Synchron Carrier. This isn't a tuner, but it's nice Synchron support because, I mean, I can add it to my hand with Junk Converter. That's one thing. But, also, it lets me get an extra normal summon for a monster with Synchron in its name. And also, if I were to Synchro summon a warrior or machine type monster while this card is on the field, then I just get a nice level 2 token. And that token can, besides being used for Synchro material, can be nice fodder for Junk Warrior, which is one of the Synchro monsters I use. But I run 2 of these because it's really nice, because I could, again, use that effect to, like, my advantage. Synchron Explorer is another one that I can search with Junk Converter's effect. But, just special summon a Synchron monster from my graveyard with its effects negated. So, nice way to get a tuner out there. And then, Jet Synchron is a really, really nice tuner to have. Because if I use it for a Synchro summon, I can get a Junk monster from my deck to the hand. And look at that, I run a lot of those. But also, if it's in the graveyard, then I can discard a card from my hand, like, say, Quillbolt Hedgehog. And then I can just special summon this from the graveyard, which then lets me special summon Doppelwarrior or Satellite Synchron if they're in my hand. So, there you go. And it does get banished when it gets special summoned that way, but I run 3 of these just because it's a really nice tuner to have. Boost Warrior is a level 1 monster. It special summons itself if I have a tuner monster on the field. And that could be handy for quickly getting out Formula Synchron. Then Tuningware is another nice level 1 monster because it could also be used as a level 2 monster if it's used for a Synchro summon. And then just lets me draw a card. Then Jester Confit, it doesn't really fit in with the whole Yusei Fudo theme because it just doesn't, but it's a free level 1 normal, or a free level 1 special summon, I mean. So, that'd be handy. Onto the spell lineup, I have Cosmic Flare here, which is used for not just Stardust Dragon, but for my other Synchros with Stardust in its name, because I actually do have quite a few of those. And if it battles, or if the Stardust monster battles a monster, then that opponent's monster just gets shuffled back into the deck. And then also, if one of my Stardust monsters were to tribute itself to activate its effect, I could just banish this card instead, which is nice. Foolish Burial is just a really nice card to get something in the graveyard that I might need, like a Quillbolt Hedgehog or Jet Synchron, or maybe just something else that I could bring back with, like, Junk Synchron or whatever. So, very handy. Limit Overdrive is just a nice little fun card to use because I can return some Synchro monsters to summon something, and just putting Synchro monsters back in my deck just lets me recycle them and lets me use them easier. And there's a few Synchro monsters that I could actually benefit from summoning with this, like Cosmic Blazar Dragon, or Shooting Quasar, or Stardust Sifr Divine Dragon, because it just ignores their summoning conditions and brings them straight out onto the field if I have monsters that match their level. Monster Reborn, nice thing to bring back to the graveyard. Can also help trigger Doppelwarrior or Satellite Synchron's effects from my hand. 2 Mystical Space Typhoons, just because. 1 for 1 is a nice way to get a level 1 monster out onto the field, just by discarding a card from my hand. So I could easily combo that for a Formula Synchron, like, say, discard Jet Synchron from my hand to bring out Tuningware, or, like, Boost Warrior. Probably Tuningware, just because I can draw with that. Then use Jet Synchron's effect to come back from the grave. Boom. Formula Synchron. Free draw. Pot of Avarice. Just nice way to recycle monsters back and then draw 2 cards. Reinforcement of the Army is to search for any of these that just happen to be warriors, like Boost Warrior, Junk Warrior, Doppelwarrior. Very handy. Starlight Junction is a nice field card to have for situations, just because, one, I can tribute a tuner monster and then special summon a Synchron monster from my deck, and the Synchron monster can be Synchron Carrier or Synchron Explorer. It doesn't need to be a tuner. It just needs to be a different level than the monster I tribute. And also, if I were to Synchro Summon on the opponent's turn, like with Steam Synchron's effect, or through Limit Overdrive, because that's a quick play, and it doesn't necessarily say Synchro Summon, it just says Special Summon the Synchro monster from the extra deck, so... Again, this doesn't technically give me a Synchro Summon, but it does Special Summon a Synchro monster from the extra deck, so I could use that in conjunction with Starlight Junction, or use Steam Synchron, Formula Synchron, something like that. And when I Special Summon a Synchro monster on the opponent's turn, just shuffle a card back to the deck, which is nice. Synchro Chase is another really, really nice card. The opponent can't activate effects in response to the activation of any of my Synchro Warrior, Synchron, or Stardust cards, which is always a handy thing. And if I Synchro Summon one of those monsters, then I can just target one of the materials used and Special Summon it in defense position. Really handy. Then Tuning, just an easy way to search for a Synchron tuner for my deck, and then discard a card from my deck to make it shorter, or potentially discard something like Quillbolt Hedgehog or Jet Synchron. I run 3 of those, so it's nice. Onto the trap lineup, which wasn't really necessary, but these are all just fun cards. Starting off with Converging Wishes. I can only activate that when I have 5 or more Synchro Dragons. And what it does is, this is really intended to be used as like a last resort trump card when everything else has failed. But what it does is, it special summons Stardust Dragon from my extra deck, and it counts as a Synchro Summon. And then, Stardust Dragon gains the attack of every Dragon Synchro monster I have in my graveyard, and then it can attack multiple times. I just need to banish those Synchro Dragons to let it attack multiple times. I mean, it loses attack that way, but it's still going to have a ton of attack power, so nice way to just finish off the opponent with Stardust Dragon. Just because, again, it's my favorite card, and I figured that this would be fun to use. Stardust Flash, just target a Stardust monster from my graveyard and special summon it. Doesn't necessarily need to be Stardust Dragon. Could be something with Stardust in its name that can be special summoned, because one of my Stardust cards can only be Synchro Summoned. Unless you have Limit Overdrive, because that just ignores that. Next up is Stardust Wish, which is for my Stardust Synchro monsters that contribute themselves for their effects. I can just bring it back, and then it can't be destroyed by battle or whatever. And also, this can't be, like, your opponent can't, like, activate cards or effects in response to this. Then Torrential Tribute just to nuke the field, which could also benefit me in some ways, actually. So here's the extra deck now. Formula Synchron, just because it's a nice level 2 Synchro tuner, and I get a free draw whenever I Synchro Summon it, plus gives me the effect of Synchro Summoning on the opponent's turn, which works with Starlight Junction. Junk Speeder is a really, really nice card because when it's Synchro Summon, I get as many Synchron tuners from the deck as possible with different levels, and I can even use that in combination with Starlight Junction, because I can get rid of one of those tuners to bring over one of the other non-tuner Synchron monsters and use those for Synchro Summons, just because, I mean, having all of those extra tuners would be nice, but having some non-tuners there would also be nice. Also, its attack doubles on the turn it's Synchro Summoned, so always handy. Junk Warrior, just a classic level 5 Synchro monster. Felt it was necessary. Plus, I just really like Junk Warrior. I mean, it does get attack equal to the total of all level 2 monsters or lower on the field, which helps with the tokens that Synchron Carrier summons, because they actually have 1,000 attack each. So, yeah, this can be a really nice card, plus it just looks really cool. Then TG Hyper Librarian is probably the most important level 5 Synchro monster I have, just because the draw power it gives, even though it doesn't really fit in with the theme of this deck, it's just really, really good. Those extra draws could really be handy. plus just any combination of these two level 5s plus Formula Synchron gets me one of my big boys. Road Warrior, just really nice. Once per turn, I can special summon a level 2 or lower Warrior type or Machine type monster from the deck, plus 3000 attack, so not bad. Next up here is Satellite Warrior, which is a really nice card. So when it gets Synchro Summon, I can destroy cards on the opponent's side of the field up to the number of Synchro monsters I have in the graveyard, which is a lot, potentially. And then it gains 1000 attack for each card destroyed. And then, when this card is destroyed, if it was Synchro Summoned first at least, then I can special summon up to 3 level 8 or lower Warrior, Synchron, and or Stardust Synchro monsters. So I can bring this back, I can bring that back, I can bring that back, I can bring these two back, which I'll go over. So really nice. Plus, if I bring back like Formula Synchron, then that can be just a handy, quick Synchro Summon on the opponent's turn if this gets destroyed then. So, yeah. Then I have here Stardust Warrior. So this is another really handy one. 3000 attack is nice, but if it during either player's turn, I contribute this card to negate the special summon of a monster or monsters that the opponent does. And since it tributes itself, I could use something like Stardust Flash or like Cosmic Flare, Stardust Wish to bring it back. And then it comes back at the end of the turn if I tribute it that way, if I didn't special summon it already prior. And then when it leaves the field because of the opponent's card effect or by battle, then I can just special summon a level 8 or lower Warrior Synchro monster like Road Warrior or Junk Warrior, and that summon is actually treated as a Synchro summon, so I get the added benefit of Junk Warrior's effect, which is pretty nice if I decide to use that to summon it. Next up is this thing that's, well, it's not really necessary, but it's a Synchro Dragon that fits in Shooting Riser Dragon. I mean, its effect is actually pretty handy. When it's Synchro Summoned, I can send a monster from my deck to the graveyard, and its level has to be lower than Shooting Riser, and then I can just lower Shooting Riser's level by the amount of the monster I discarded that way. Like, for example, I can discard Quillbolt Hedgehog to make this thing a level 5. It also is a tuner, so level 5 Synchro Tuner with level 5 any of these. Bring out one of these two, or that thing. Or I can choose not to manipulate its level, use this and this with Limit Overdrive for one of the big boys. The only downside is I can't activate the effect of the monster that I discarded or any card that shares its name on the turn it gets discarded, but oh well. Then next up here is Stardust Spark Dragon. This is the manga counterpart to Stardust Dragon. Its effect is pretty handy. Once per turn during either player's turn, I can just target a card I control, and it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Very handy to protect something. Like, I could use it to protect Formula Synchron if I feel like I need to protect that, or just anything that really needs protection. And then Stardust Dragon, favorite card, very nice. Just tribute it to negate the activation of a spell, trap, or effect that destroys cards, and then it gets special summoned. So there you go. It also just looks really cool. I love its design a lot. Gosh, it's such a cool card. Because Stardust Dragon, Stardust Spark Dragon, and Stardust Warrior, because again they're all Stardust cards, all of my like spells and traps that support them, like they just give them that extra benefit to having them. Next up here is Stardust Chronicle Spark Dragon, so requires a tuner synchro and then just a synchro monster. And unfortunately I can't like bring this back with Stardust Wish or Stardust Flash because it has to be synchro summoned, but I can just banish a synchro monster from my graveyard and then it's just unaffected by other card effects. And then when it's destroyed by battle or card effect, I can just target one of my banished synchro monsters and special summon it. It's handy. Like, it could come in handy in some situations. So there's that, plus has 3000 attack, so it's not that bad. And it's pretty easy to summon just because it doesn't require a specific monster like this, Shooting Star Dragon. It requires a Tuner Synchro and Stardust, so Formula and Stardust right there. I mean, it can attack multiple times potentially. I can negate the activation of Destruction effect cards, and then just negate an attack as well by banishing itself and then special summoning at the end of the turn when I activate that effect. So, yay. Then onto the first of the 3 big boys. Level 12 Stardust Sifr, I believe? Sifr Divine Dragon. So, Tuner Synchro monster plus 2 or more non-Tuner Synchro monsters. It has to be a Synchro summon, but at least it's a Stardust monster, so Cosmic Flare's banishing effect would still, or not banishing, shuffling effect would still work with this or that, or any of my other Stardust cards. But this is a really handy card because the first time any of my cards would be destroyed by card effect or battle, they're just not. And then I can also just negate an effect and then destroy a card in the field. And then I can banish this card from the graveyard, then target a level 8 or lower Stardust monster in my graveyard, and special summon it. So, there you go. And the 4000 attack makes it really, really nice for Converging Wishes if I decide to use that. Next up is Cosmic Blazar Dragon. Same requirements, a Tuner Synchro and then 2 or more non-Tuner Synchro monsters. This is a really handy card. It has to be Synchro summoned, unless limit Overdrive. I mean, that applies with any of these 3. But I can banish this card until the end phase, and it doesn't special summon itself, it just returns. So that's a handy thing for summoning with limit Overdrive. Like, this is probably the thing I would summon with limit Overdrive the most, just because there's that. And then, anyways, I can just banish it to either negate the effect of the card that an opponent activates, or negate a summon, or negate an attack, then end the battle phase. Very, very handy. And then next up is Shooting Quasar Dragon, which also a pretty good card. So, same requirements, of course, 1 Synchro Tuner, and then 2 or more non-Tuner Synchro monsters. So, basically, any of these, and then that. Or, these, like, Shooting Riser, and then any of the level 5s with limit Overdrive. Again, nice combo I could do there. But, it gets multiple attacks based on the number of non-Tuner Synchro monsters that I used. And then, when the opponent activates an effect, then I can just negate it. And then also when it leaves the field, I can just special summon a Shooting Star Dragon from the deck. So that's another nice way of getting that out without necessarily having Stardust Dragon. But all 3 of these 4000 attack big boys are situational, and I could just easily summon one of them, like depending on what the situation calls for. But yeah, I'm fond of the extra deck lineup, and I have 7 Synchro Dragons, not counting Stardust, for Converging Wishes effect. So yeah. Is it necessary to have all 7 of these dragons? Probably not. But again, this isn't a super competitive deck, so I don't care. Plus, again, I just really, really love Stardust Dragon. I actually have 8 copies of it, because I am weird like that. And that's my Stardust Dragon / Yusei Fudo themed deck. I'm really satisfied with it. I've done a few like test draws, and from the few like tests that I've done, like my opening hand has led to some really interesting combos. Some where I'm able to get one of my level 12 dragons out really easily on the first turn, and just able to do some interesting stuff. And I'm really glad that I'm finally able to finish this deck, because I've wanted to build this deck for a very, very long time, but just due to other circumstances happening, just never finished it. Like, there was times where I was missing like 3 cards or whatever, but right now the deck is done. barring any revisions I make to it, but I like it. It's gonna be fun to mess around with. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this vlog, so thank y'all so much for watching, and see y'all next time for another one. Later!